So welcome. Let's begin seated, please. And it will be with a blanket underneath your seat. Any cross-legged seat that feels okay for you. Shins can be crossed or just the feet. So let the palms rest down maybe. Whatever you've been doing this morning, especially if you've just been doing a yang practice, let's shift the attention and the intention. Let your eyes close down. And let your breath come to the forefront of your attention. Let the breath hold you, so that as the inhale comes in, and as the exhale flows out, let your attention start to draw inwards. Perhaps on the exhale you can let the sit bones yield more in towards the earth. So that we start to shift more away from a doing way into a being way. Yin is an extremely physical practice. But it's physical in that we weave our awareness into the tissues even more deeper than we do perhaps in the yang. Because rather than turning on effort to make the body a certain way, we soften and we use release to learn more about how the body actually is as it is right now. So for the next couple of breaths, can you allow the inhale and the exhale to be an exploration of your inner form? Tracing the landscape of your inner body. And also noticing the state of your mind and your heart. Let the shoulders and the ears soften away from each other, let the belly soften. Open yourself to receive the practice. Should take one more breath. Let the activity of the morning sink into the floor. Slowly we'll begin to move. So if you take your hands in front, we'll start to come forward onto the belly. So I obviously have a little prop here, but you may or may not require it. I have another place that the blanket can go for you. We take the hips down towards the floor. And the feet can be about hip width apart here. We take the elbows down and then shift them a little bit forward from your shoulders. Let the palms of the hands rest on the mat and let the tops of the feet rest on the mat here. Now where you can put the blanket is if you find that your elbows dig into the floor, you can place them here underneath. so that they can rest, because we want all of the weight to go down into those elbows. Here, let the pubic bone go down into the earth. Let the hands feel the texture of the floor, and you can either choose, you can let the neck be an extension of the spine, holding up like this, or you can allow the chin to drip down so that the top of the head becomes heavy. Here we allow the weight to sink down into the elbows and into the tops of the legs. If you let your armpits soften and yield, lay yourself here to rest. So we won't have super long holds because it's just a 30-minute practice today. But can you allow the breath to move around the back of your armpits so you can start to engage yielding. Notice if the glute muscles are holding anything. Notice a peeling away of layers. Can you let the shoulders shrug down? So as your attention comes into the body, perhaps you notice one spot at a time starting to release. As we allow gravity to start to act. Notice if your jaw is tight, let it soften. Know that the jaw and the pelvic floor are related to each other, so that as we soften through the jaw, we can find softening in the lower body too. So maybe let your head be heavier for one more breath. Keep everything else as it is, the left foot, the whole upper body. Start to sneak your right knee up towards you. So the inner seam of the inner right knee comes to the floor. Maybe the inner edge of the foot. Now we don't have to flex the foot, you can let the foot be soft. Then once you've arranged that, again, let your head drop down if it's dropping. And let your attention come to that right hip. Let it be weighty. Even if we have this inner seam from right toe to right inner knee to right inner hip, can you let the floor hold it there? And notice what happens with the outer seam. So as you let the heaviness of the heel be held by the floor, perhaps there can be a dripping of the outer right hip down towards the floor. We aim to find a softening even around the hip socket here. So as you lower the sole of the right foot and the outer right glute, soften, take another breath. Exhale. And inhale, we'll sneak the right knee back and swab over. Let the top of the foot come to the floor and take the left knee out towards the side this time. So use a little rearrangement. Notice how movement feels different to stillness. Then once you've got your knee up, as close as feels okay, then you can let the head drop down again, if that's what you're doing. Or again, just allow yourself to sink into this shape. As we move around the lower body, let it be held by the floor. So we again find from left big toe through left inner knee, left hip. Even the left side of the lung, how does that connect to it? Again, as the breath moves softly through, perhaps let it swirl around that left hip socket. Maybe again letting your left outer hip be weighty. Maybe letting the back of the sit bones or the back of the pelvis spread. Take one more breath. Exhale. Soften even more. Then let the inhale take your left knee back. And walk the hands back towards you. And bend the knees, press yourself back into a child's pose here. So now the belly and the thighs come towards each other. These can be close together or they can be wide as you prefer. But let yourself come down towards the floor. Perhaps you could even make a little cushion for your head with your hands. Here you can think about the back of the hips being so weighty and descending down. As we close now the angle between the belly and the thighs, closing off the front of the hip. Can you let the belly be so soft that all the deep muscles in there can soften? The belly yields. Perhaps on the base of the exhale you can stay. On only long enough that it doesn't tug the inhale into an active thing, but just so that you can be with a certain stillness. And see what softening can tell you. Slowly we'll look forward, take the hands back. So you come to walk yourself back, so you're over the heels. And now here, let's come to curtsy off to the side. Take your left foot slightly forward and your right foot out towards the side. So we're looking here for like a kind of zigzag shape with the legs. Now it's going to depend on you how you want to shape this. So in deer pose, which is what this is called, it's kind of like a kind of prep for pigeon sort of, or a variation on pigeon. In pigeon, I don't emphasize taking the foot forward to 90 degrees, but here it can be more accessible. So if you like, you can see if it feels okay to take that foot forward so that it would be more parallel with the short edge of the mat. And then your right foot, the knee can either point back out towards the side, or it can stay with it, and the foot can be flexed, or the foot can either come in towards the hip a little bit more. Here we aim to square the hips off a little bit towards the front. Now, propping. What you can do is you can take a nice blanket and place it under the right hip here, if that's elevated. And also, if you notice that as you take the front leg out to the front, if that left knee is elevated, you can also put a little blanket here. Because it's not about pushing ourselves into an unnatural shape, it's about finding an arrangement and then allowing the body to invite you in. So find a place where you can allow your hips to sink down. From here, you can use the fingertips to lengthen. And then as you exhale, we can start to fold over that front leg. Now, as you do so, if you get, oh my God, a lot of pinching in that front hip, you can just take the foot in closer. See what feels okay for you here. But again, we're going to look towards coming onto the elbows, where we create a slight bit of, there's a bit of a compression, or there will be for sure compression in that left hip. But we don't want it to be jangly. We want it to be a place where we can stay. So as we close this angle, let it be a meeting of the parts of your body. And notice whether you have an idea in your mind of, I need to open up my hips. See if you can instead, rather than thinking about how you want your body to be with what you find where it is. With that in mind, can you find a yielding as the left hip gets heavy, as those big muscles that support the hip, not only around the actual hip itself, the glutes, but also the hamstrings and the quads, can they be soft? Can they start to thaw into this position? Even the sole of the right foot and the right hip, can that be held either by the floor or whatever prop you've got there, so that the breath can weave its way even more. Take one more breath in. Take one more breath out. And slowly you can start to walk yourself back. Now here, stay with the left leg where it is and pull that right foot in towards you, if it isn't already. And in fact, take your right knee to point slightly forward so it maybe nestles in to the inner arch of the left foot here. So the top of the right foot's going to be on the floor. The right knee pointing forward, more or less. Now here, we can start to walk the hands back a little or a lot. So you might do a little rearrangement, a tucking of the right hip underneath you. So everything stays more or less the same. And now with the arrangement of the legs, so from the front it can look like this, but we're looking now to lengthen across the front of the right leg. So you can start to walk the hands back a little or a lot. And you can stay here, or, I mean, it depends, listen to what's going on with you right now. So perhaps you will even come all the way down onto the elbows, so that here you can open and soften across the front of your chest even. You can think about a line from outer right hip to the right knee. And again, we're not trying to press into anything, but rather can you encourage a releasing deep in around not only the right hip socket, but also all of the muscles on the outside of it there. And then notice how that ripples into the quad. So here again, notice if you've been ambitious, if you want to come back onto the hands, that's excellent. So we look for a place where we can allow the body to talk to us. Let the bones descend into the earth so that your tissues have the space to speak to you. Take one more breath here. And then let that go. Start to walk the hands back if you went back onto the forearms in particular. And here, using your hands, you can take the soles of both feet to the floor. And then let the knees point out in one direction. And then the other direction. Good. So if you can see if the hips can stay closer to the floor rather than rocking all the way over to the side of both hips. Then we swap it over. So take your right foot forward. So we move into the deer shape now. And then we take the left behind. So again, you're going to choose. So you know that I am a fan of alignment, usually in the yang practice, and even in the yin practice I am. But the thing is that in yin, alignment becomes a lot more personal. Because like I say, we're not looking for something to make, we're looking for something, what is actually with your body today. So, does your foot want to be square to the short end of the mat? Does it want to be closer in? Does your left foot want to be out onto the floor? Or does the toe want to point back? Discover what for you feels right. And then adjust the floor to meet you. So maybe you prop the front knee, maybe you prop the back hip. Arrange it in such a way that you have a sensation that you can be with. Inhale, lengthen the chest. And then as you exhale, you can start to walk yourself forward. So when you get into the pose, we look for a place where we can be for some time. So if you notice you get to a place where it feels unpleasantly compressive, just bring the right heel closer towards you. Adjust yourself, and then Let it yield. Let the bones be heavy. Know how irregular the two sides of the body can be. Know that there can be a totally different experience from left and right. So see if you can remove expectation. Can you instead make yourself so present using the breath as your guide? Notice the peeling away of layers. Especially when we work with such large and dense muscles. And the muscles which support these very mobile parts holding, it goes on even without our conscious control. So even as you release other parts of you, even as you release the shoulders, the face, notice if it releases little parts, little intricate moments around the hips too. Inhale, start to walk your hands back. And here we arrange ourselves again for the backward motion. Take your left knee towards your right foot more. So your left heel comes more towards your left hip. And then you can start to walk yourself back. So we're aiming for the left knee to point slightly more forward. Again, you can find a little arrangement. If you'd like, you can lift the pelvis up and point the pubic bone more forward. So we're looking for the seam now from outer left hip to left knee. Top of the foot pressing into the floor, or rather not pressing, but resting. Here, you choose your volume. So if it feels okay, you can come down onto the elbows. But again, notice what you feel when you do that. So know that you're allowed to adjust and you can come out. As you come into the shape, there's that rippling of release. Maybe one muscle, maybe another. See if you can take the urgency out of it. Notice what happens when you don't do. Take another breath. Use the inhale to walk yourself back from wherever you were. Then you can use the hands to unravel the legs. Take the soles of the feet to the floor again. Maybe rock the knees side to side. Unravel everything where we go. All the stillness we get, fluid back into it again as we undo. From here, take the soles of the feet to touch again, and then shift your hips back. Here, just for a breath or two, we'll start to release, take an inhale to lengthen the spine, and then as you exhale, drape yourself forward. Maybe the palms even face up. Know that the head doesn't have to go anywhere. But as this last posture, let's surrender. So can you allow the breath to weave around the space of the back of the neck, the shoulders moving away from the ears? And not in a way where I think I have to take my shoulders away from my ears and so I force them into it, but more like I allow the back of the body to release into the way that it wants to be. Here for the last couple of breaths, again, can you let the back, not only the back of your body, but also where the sit bones meet the earth, can it be heavy in such a way that you allow the body to be as it wants to be today? You can notice that the paradox that when we stop trying to make things a certain way, we allow the space for them to shift on their own. Take one more breath. As you inhale, you can walk the hands back up to meet you. And we'll finish just with a cross-legged position again. Let the hips press down onto the floor. Take your hands to your belly and to your chest. Inhale to fill your belly up, inhale to fill your chest up. Exhale, release the shoulders, release the hips, release the face, release the belly. Let your palms be receptive to the sensations behind your heart. And perhaps you can allow this presence to be with you for the rest of your day. As you inhale, join the palms. Take a big breath in. Exhale to release. And bow to yourself for taking this time to slow down. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a beautiful, peaceful day, and enjoy your body as it is, because it's great. Yeah.